Hi, I'm Nathan Black. I'm talking to Ross Cowman about Apocalypse World and how you're not playing it right and how you could be playing it better.
Oh man.
The idea for this,
into that one.
you kind of did. I'm sorry to ambush you, but
No, it's good.
well, I mean, the idea for this conversation started because in our chat about games, small games that we love that we think should be played by more people, you very specifically called out Apocalypse World and how people should actually go back and read the book.
I know. God, that's such a jerk. Yeah, it's true. I did. I said those words, and like most jokes, there's an element of truth to it. So, like, of course, on one hand, you can never really tell anybody that they're playing a game wrong. If people play games, they want to play them, and that's fine. That's cool. And then I also, a lot of times I'll see folks doing things. And I'm like, oh man, that's really like the thing that's exciting to you about this game isn't what's exciting to me about this game. And I think that maybe because of the way that Apocalypse World is written, that the book itself is, like a little vague at times, and people are, uses a lot of this evocative language, but it doesn't just kind of sit down and say like, hey, this is what to do in every instance. So people read different things into it. And I remember the first time I played it, I was just so blown away by the way the moves worked and by the way the world was built, out of all the things that different players were interested in. I was playing with Avery Alder at the time, and I think that when I purchased the book when it came out, and I just read that thing like the Bible. I would just read it. I think I read it cover to cover at least 2 or 3 times before I ran it the first time, and then I was like kind of referring back to the book, making sure that I was like doing everything according to how it said to do things in the book. And it took a long time, and then after a while it sort of became internalized, and I stopped using the book so much. And there's there are I have a lot of opinions about Apocalypse World, and I feel that sometimes people do. Okay, well, maybe we should just dive into it. Let me say some things, some pitfalls. Or yeah, you want to ask me some questions?
Actually, like I've had the same experience with Apocalypse World, because in the past, like I've always wanted more narrative-driven games, and like I felt like role-playing games were halfway there.
Mm-hmm.
And then this felt like it was the first time where it was explicitly permission to like push the narrative, and it gave me the right tool set to do that. And so it's really interesting to me, like I'm still learning how to play Apocalypse World.
Yeah.
And it's still super compelling to me to explore that, and super frustrating when I see people, playing it wrong, quote unquote.
Sure.
Because I look at it and it's like, that's not what you should be doing. You should be, taking it up with the table.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of doing all this.
So maybe we should talk about. Yeah, maybe we should hit it thing by thing. Pet peeves, Apocalypse World pet peeves.
Okay.
Do you want to go first?
People that ask what plot they should do before they even get started.
Oh God, that's the worst.
Building front before they get to the table.
Yeah, totally. And why is that a bad idea? Why does that mess up Apocalypse World?
Well, because Apocalypse World, and pre-building characters, because I feel those things are tied in.
Oh, geez. Pre-gens? I've never seen anyone do that. Oh, God.
I don't hear about it as much in Apocalypse World, but I hear about it over on the over in Blaze in the Dark, which I feel is such a spiritual successor, and even like had very specific things. You know, you should be building that collaboratively at the table, asking the questions that will drive the game further.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that issue and why I think it's incorrect. Why you should not be playing Apocalypse World that way. If I may.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so there's this thing that happens in Apocalypse World, which is really special, and that is that Vincent chose to call that taking the game, that's running the game, the MC, the Master of Ceremonies, and it implies a few different things. Like an MC is not the star of the show. The MC is there to keep the show going. The MC is there to highlight the performers. The MC is there to kind of draw our attention to different things that are happening over the course of the evening. Compare that to a game master, where a game master is you are simultaneously the MC, but you are also the performer. You know, you're the person that is like, everyone else is usually sitting down at the table, you're waving your hands around, you know, you're showing off all of your different pan-European accents, you've got this like great orc impersonation, it's awesome. And and you know, everyone else is like kind of chilling and watching you do your thing. And that is one of the things that is really revolutionary and beautiful to me about Apocalypse World, is that it has this different viewpoint on what the facilitator should be doing, and then has a whole bunch of mechanics and rules that support that back that up, that make it possible for that to happen. And when you let go of the story, when you let go of the mastery, when you let go of needing to be the master of the game, this really beautiful thing happens where for like someone used to doing a lot of facilitating and used to doing a lot of GMing, where suddenly this world, suddenly, you know, you're not having to spend hours and hours doing prep and then, you know, get frustrated when it falls apart because the players aren't really excited about any of the things that you made up. You allow for this story and this world to really feel alive, and for players to really invest into it and become excited about it in this way that you didn't see in a lot of other games before Apocalypse World.
Right, and it also drives home the point that it's an ensemble cast game.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of the revelations I had was Jason Morningstar told me that there's not a lot of setting, like there's not a lot. I was saying I like games that don't have a lot of explicit setting, and then Jason said that the world or the characters are the setting, and that like blew my mind right open.
Yep, totally. And what you do when you're an MC is, you know, we do create this setting, we do create this world, but the world is simply creation and response to these characters. You know, the world is this externalization of what is going on inside of the players collectively and what they're interested in exploring through these plays. You know, if your character is a heart holder and you are in this old hotel that's the only building that's left standing in this desert, you know, that says something about that says something about what's going on inside of the player, and that is going to create this really particular kind of world. And you know, if someone's interested in doing that, you know, like they're like, wow, you're the only badass for like miles around. You know, I want to be, you know, I want to be Tina Turner in Bartertown, you know, and you know, the beautiful thing about Apocalypse World is that you give players what they want, and then all the moves and all the tools, just the problems will come out of that, and the problems will come out of these things that they're interested in exploring. And if you pre-plan everything, if you set up this whole city, you know, you're going to be missing out on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, So
Well,
man, don't do that.
and also, if you don't have a hard holder, you don't have a hard hold.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
You
Yeah,
don't
not
have a
necessarily.
solid foothold
Yeah,
on anything. Like that's a defined by the characters, by the player's choice to play that, to have that character in the mix.
yeah, like
Um,
maybe the character mix is like a driver and a chopper, and we're actually just like driving around this apocalyptic wasteland together, and that's what becomes important in the game. Yeah, yeah, don't pre-plan things. Don't. I mean, Vincent actually, he swears several times in the book, telling you not to do that. He's like, don't effing pre-plan, your adventure.
yeah, he straight up
Yeah,
says, if you do this, you will rob the agency of the players.
totally. So, yeah, I know for me, like when I'm a player, I don't want to be playing Apocalypse World if the MC isn't excited about what I'm excited about and doesn't even, I've played games like that where I'm sitting down and it's really clear that my ideas just don't matter, and that the MC has all my character is and the problems that my character has, and they're not coming out of, they haven't even asked me any questions. It's just, all of a sudden the cannibals are coming over the fence. It's just like, oh God, I really just wanted to talk about my outfit, and like, you don't understand. So
Well,
yeah, so that's the first thing. That's the first. That's a big pet peeve that I think we both share.
what do you think about like the idea of scenery, like set dressing, like pre-planning, just like uh, the Olive Garden scenario, or
Oh,
like Waterworld setup, where the MC has that much to say.
yeah. That is, I think it is a different kind of fun than what I'm looking for. What I am looking for in a game of Apocalypse World is really, I want to not know anything about what this world is going to be like, and I just want to be shocked at what these three or four. If I'm emceeing, I want to be really shocked and surprised at what these people come up with. Like maybe the Olive Garden thing comes out of that. If that's something they're interested in exploring, that could emerge naturally from play. And I respect people that design those and that play those scenarios. It's just it's fun than what I am looking for as an MC when I'm playing a game.
Cool. Do you what's your first pet peeve?
Long setup. Yeah, the 1 to 2 hour character generation process. It's a mess. Don't take that long making characters. You should start a time. Like if you're bad at it, just start a timer and spend 30 minutes, and that's what you get for at the end of that 30 minutes. And the way you do that is you set up the playbooks, make sure you have everything set up when the players arrive, get all the playbooks out, have people pick their playbooks, just give them like about 5 minutes to do that. And at the end of 5 minutes, just say, hey, I'm going to start taking playbooks off the table. So if there's 2 that you're deciding between, hold those in your hands so I can't get them. And I just start taking playbooks off the table one at a time until everyone's picked their playbook. And then you guide them through so that's your first 5 minutes. Your next 5 minutes, name, look, outlook, or just picking their name and their look, and help them choose their stats. And then the next 5 minutes should be you explain moves work, and then after that, you should be ready to go around and have people do their explain or do the introductions. And when you do the introductions, you just have people go around and say, hey, tell me your name, your look, and your outlook on life. And I'm going to ask you a couple questions. And don't jump and don't spend too much time on those questions. Just really like let yourself wonder things. Don't feel like you have to dive in. Don't answer things for them. Just ask them a couple questions that come naturally from what they tell you about their character. And while you're doing that, you want to make sure that you've got your notes out and you've written down the names of all the characters, and you're writing down what all the little details, all the questions that you have, you're going to write those down because that's going to be your first batch of scenes. And then making sure that you're naming everybody that comes up, and don't forget to, and then do HX, do this, the same thing. Just go around and do the HX as quickly as you can, but don't dive into explaining why all those HX moves are, why all those history things are true about those two characters. Just leave those as questions and explore that through play. And then if you should be able to get through that in 30 to 40. Oh, don't forget to do to highlight stats, because everybody always forgets to highlight stats. Mm-hmm. So yeah, do all that, spend 30 or 40 minutes, and then just start playing the damn game. Especially if you're doing a one shot, if you're at a con, and even if not, if you're just sitting down and playing, like don't spend too much time trying to figure out everything beforehand. Like get to the play as soon as you can and just play to find out wins.
So you're like strictly, it's not even low prep, it's no prep at all. Dive right in.
Prep. just don't do it. Don't prep. What's that?
Don't even prep the characters.
Please don't. People know how to make characters. They can do it. I mean, I've played Apocalypse World with people that don't even play games, and it's fine. I ran an Apocalypse World table for 8 child trauma counselors. It's like one time, and some of them had played board games before, and none of them had played a role-playing game before. And we got through our prep in 45 minutes, which is great for 8 people, and we just went straight into scenes. And it's cool if somebody doesn't have all the moves figured out. They can add another move as they start playing. You don't wait for everybody to be all the way done necessarily. It's okay if a couple people are lagging behind, if some folks are confused, and just be like, hey, don't worry about it. We're just going to go into this, and you can learn as you go. It's going to be fine. Yeah,
and having extra copies of the move sheets out always.
Yep.
Always.
Yeah, absolutely. Put those out there.
Also, because they're very evocative in and of themselves. Yeah.
The moves.
The moves themselves tell you, like, they are charged descriptions of how those moves happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Or happen, and things you can do. They're very prescriptive.
Yep.
Like go aggro on someone is clearly.
Yeah, it's saying something about what kind of game we're going to be playing. Exactly, also, super important. I forgot this, but after everybody picks their playbooks, before they start filling them out, have everybody read the introduction on the back out loud to everybody. That's a really great way to sort of start to get us all onto the same page as to who these characters are, and really get you to start thinking about the other characters and how you might relate to them. It's a great first thing to do before you start actually making your character, and it gives that some time to kind of percolate and internalize while we're writing things down. So that way, by the time it gets to the place where we're making history moves, you've already got a little bit of a seed planted in there for who these different people are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so setup. That's the other thing that I think can be improved and tightened up in Apocalypse World sessions.
Cool. Do you have any other pet peeves you want to?
Yeah. So thing number 3. So we already talked. We already talked about prep. We talked about setup. Next thing I want to talk about is leading the players around. Yeah. So it's in a similar category to prep in that if you're going to step on the role of if you're going to step into the role of the MC, you need to, it really requires you to be a fan of the player characters. And when you are a fan of somebody, you're not going on to, like, if you're, like Nathan, I know you're a huge Justin Bieber fan. You're not like going on to Wikipedia and editing Justin Bieber's page to like write down all the things that you think are true about Justin Bieber. When you're a fan of something, you go and you just, every album they've put out, if you had a chance to like sit down with somebody that you are really excited about, you would ask them lots of questions. You'd want to know, like, who is this person? What's going on? Who are you really? Like, what's your life like? And that's what the MC needs to be doing about the players. They need to be, the rules tell us to, for the first session, just follow the characters around for that first day in their life and just really figure out what's going on, and don't feel like you need to problematize things right away. That will happen on its own. You so yeah, the other thing I see folks do is just right off the bat they set up some like badass warlord that you need to be fighting against, or they just start making hard moves right off the bat.
Mhm.
And there's a time for that, but it's not the beginning of the game. You need to give the players an opportunity to tell you what's interesting to them about their characters, and what's interesting to them about this world, and what this world is even like, and really allow that to come together naturally instead of imposing your own idea. Like as the MC, your own personal creative agenda really needs to take a back seat.
Yeah, and that's very much like a counselor thing where you listen to the players and you reflect it back to them.
Yep.
Absolutely. How do you push an exciting game in a convention setting where you don't have enough time really to fully explore the characters wandering around to their favorite watering hole?
I think the main thing is you make the setup short.
Mm-hmm.
And you I've had many exciting, satisfying one world games where I'm just following the players around, and those problems and those interesting things do come about. They just don't come about in the first hour of play. Let's say like I think 4 hours is like a reasonable amount of time, and let's say you spend a half an hour doing setup. You spend the first hour to an hour and a half just following these characters around and figuring out what the world is like, and then the moves naturally snowball into real conflict. Sometime around the like second hour of play, or the third hour of play. Let's say you've got like 3 hours of play, a half hour of setup time, and a half hour of like kind of before and after time. An hour to 2 hours. You have like a couple hours to just follow players around. That's plenty of time. And then just if there's no problems at the end of just following these players around after a couple hours, it's because you haven't rolled any moves yet. And
right,
and
one of the things listed in the first session notes is encourage them to make moves, push them towards moves.
Yep, and that's something that just happens normally. It's like all of the moves have this really cynical idea about how people relate to each other. And so when people just try and relate to each other in normal ways, inevitably these moves are going to step in and be like, oh, no, actually, you're trying to manipulate this person to get what you want. And you're
right.
like, oh, really? I just wanted to give them some beans because I had extra beans. No, but what do you want from them?
Right.
Friendship? Okay, roll the move. Trying to manipulate them with your beans. For their friendship.
Into friendship.
You bad person.
Well, yeah, and the other one of my pet peeves is people don't understand that the MC moves are also specifically they are things you do. That's the list of things you do as an MC.
Yeah.
That's the entirety of your response. Well, it's not the entirety of the responsibility.
Yeah.
But moves snowballing isn't just player moves snowballing onto player moves.
That's true.
It's a back and forth between MC moves, player moves, and more player moves.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And you'll notice that interrupt the PCs and blast them with your creative agenda are not MC moves. so don't do those things.
Right. Those are right out.
Yeah, like let people talk. Let people give them some. So don't lead the players around. Follow the players. Follow the characters around, for sure.
Yeah. So this kind of segues into a conversation about. I mean, do you feel like we covered what makes Apocalypse World different?
Yeah, I think the relation. So there's three things that I think are really there, which is that the relationship between the MC and how the MC's role is to give agency back to the players, creative agency and like creative power, and that is and at the same time make the world seem real. Like really enforce the consequences and sometimes bad consequences of things that we choose to do and choices that we make throughout play. The second thing that makes Apocalypse World really unique is because it uses principles and agenda to really lay bare the intent of the design. People talk a lot about designing versus hacking, and I think that when you are designing something, the purpose. So you have. If I were to design a chair, or if I were to design a hotel, or if I were to design an operating system, you start off with some intent. There's like a reason why you are doing this, and then we can judge if your design was successful or not successful based off of how well you achieved those goals. So like, let's say I'm designing like an airplane chair, and then we could go and we could talk to people that flew in your airplane chair, and they could tell us what their experience was like. And some chairs are horrible, and some chairs are like really comfortable. And there's things that we can say are like good or bad, about this design based off of people's user experience. And the same is true for games. You can tell a game design can be good or it can be bad, and it has a lot to do with what the intention was of the designer. And I think Vincent does a really good job of telling you what his intention is, what he wants the MC to be doing in the game, what this game is trying to accomplish, both just like online and in the text itself. I think he does a really good job of telling you what's going on with that. And then hacking is also like an important skill to have. And when you are hacking, maybe you don't have a complete understanding of the entire system from the ground up, or you didn't make the entire system from the ground up, but you are just trying to go in and there's this like one little tweet and you're like, this chair would be great, but I'm kind of tall, so I think I need to just be an inch taller. And maybe I'm not looking at everything else and all the other decisions about the chair. Maybe I haven't even considered some of the other things that went into the construction of this chair. Because I've never built a whole chair for myself from the ground up. So, but I'm just going to change this one little thing, and that's going to make the chair better for me, and that's cool. So, like, that is and what's kind of neat about Apocalypse World is that because over the course of many sessions of play, you're encouraged to make custom moves. The game kind of invites you to hack it, and it kind of gives you this little sandbox to work in and says like, okay, well, if you don't like these things, just go ahead and make your own moves as we play the game, and it really helps you to it is a window into game design. Well, and really the game itself.
It's not just a sandbox, it's actually a tool set as well.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
Like, it's very clear, this is how a move works. This is the dissection of what we're doing and what we're accomplishing with these moves.
Yeah, totally.
Which I think is like the gifts that Vincent has given to the community are manyfold.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
That absolutely being one of them. So yeah, and that the whole very explicitly saying what the MC is supposed to say, what the moves are, what the principles are.
Yep.
And the very first principle being bar forth apocalypta. Apocalypse?
Uh-huh.
I don't even know how you pronounce that.
Apocalyptica.
Apocalyptica, yeah. And it's just fill out the world around the characters, but fill it out around the characters.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think that covers what really makes Apocalypse World different for me.
Cool. So we've talked a little bit about how we would do it better.
Yeah.
Do you have any other things you want to fill out on that?
Sure. The last thing I'd like to fill out is to talk a little bit about the concept of hard moves versus soft moves, which is something, a concept that John Harper introduced in a post on his blog, which you should all check out, themightyatom.blogspot.com. I think that's it. And he just really laid out the concept that there are some moves that are hard and there's some moves that are soft, and the time to and like soft moves are things like announcing future badness, or tell them the possible consequences, or offer them an opportunity with or without a cost. Those are sort of things that are soft moves, because you're just sort of dangling something out there. You haven't really changed anything really hard in the fiction yet. You're just sort of saying like, oh, this could happen or this could happen, and that's what as the MC, that is the first tool that you want to be using. That should be your default. Should be these kind of these like little softer moves. And the times that you make a move it's really important to consider as well. You want to be making a move when people are looking at you, expecting you to say something, or when they fail a die roll, when they offer you this like golden opportunity. So like that's when you should be making moves. And other than that, it's don't talk, because if no one's looking at you expecting you to say something, it's because they're really excited about what they're saying right now, or there's something going on between a couple players that they need to be saying right now. So if they're not like offering some golden opportunity to be making some move, you shouldn't be interrupting them. You should really be like listening and writing down what they're saying, and like keeping notes, and doing things like jumping forward with named characters, and like but you don't want to take the attention away from them. But then when they do, that is when you step forward and you talk about these, like, the smoke on the horizon that they've heard, or somebody showing up all beat up because someone beat them up, and then there's these hard moves which you make when someone blows a roll, or it's kind of like it happens as a result of these other things that have all built up to it. Like you've announced that this bad thing could happen, and that water's running out, and no one's been paying attention to it, and now all of a sudden, oh, you know what, the water ran out, and what do you guys do? That's a hard move,
Yeah.
Or
the soft moves are problems and issues that, if unsolved, turn into hard moves.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Or if unaddressed, even.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the whole idea is you're just there to keep the conversation going, and to keep it going, but keep it honest. Stick to the principles, and holding characters really to the truth of their own choices that they've made about their characters and about what's true about Apocalypse World, and enforcing those consequences. Yeah. So that's my other little tip. My last Apocalypse World tip for y'all.
Nice. We have. It looks like we have 2 live viewers. Hi guys.
Woo! Hey, how's it going? Do you have any questions? You can type them in the.
Yeah, we have the question app going, so if you have any questions, please. Oh, down to 1 viewer. I guess that's an answer.
Yeah, I think it's it.
So one of the problems I actually have as an MC is feeling like I'm putting enough pressure on the players.
Uh-huh.
And I don't, because I tend to sit back and listen, I don't always know when I should be pushing harder on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Should you be pushing hard? I don't think it's your job. It's not your job to push on the players. I don't think that's anywhere in the MC agenda. You're supposed to make their lives interesting, and you're supposed to push them towards making moves. But it doesn't say introduce conflict into their lives. And I think that's something that you don't necessarily have to do on your own, because just the natural like scarcity and the natural like the inherentness of like the base nature of these books, and the way the histories work with each other. If you're just kind of following that around until you get if you get to conflict, that's fine. But it's also like I've had games with gunluggers where like the gunlugger never fired a bullet, and it was really powerful and moving. And just like if someone's excited about that, if they're like really wanting to stir up conflict, they'll do that and they'll tell you. but don't assume that every Apocalypse World game has to have a lot of violence in it. It generally does, because everyone's armed to the teeth, you know.
And a lot of and like we said earlier, a lot of the moves predicate themselves on going aggro, seizing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the implication on the table is that these are on the table, which
Yeah,
is
totally.
also the interesting thing about the sex moves.
Yeah.
By implicitly stating this is what happens, it's an invitation to make these things happen.
Yeah, totally. It doesn't mean that it's not